Welcome, everyone, to episode number 7 of our podcast, Motivate to Move. I am John Lagroff.
And I'm Diane Trites.
And today we have a very special guest, a very special lady. Well, she does pretty much everything. And she is a softball, hardball, baseball maniac. She runs a little bit. I know she trains at the gym a lot. She does some kickboxing. She usually works 2 jobs, and then, of course, the virus, thing put a whole damper on that. She has dogs that she walks. She loves pets. She does a lot of different things. Angele Bastarache, thank you very much for joining us here on our podcast today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I just listed a whole bunch of things, Angele, that you do, and I'm sure that our listeners out there would like to know a little bit more about you. So perhaps you could just give us a short bio, a Coles Notes version of, who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, like you said, my name is Angele Bastarache. What I do is I love to keep active. That's what keeps me motivated. That's what keeps me alert, happy. So I've always been like that ever since I was a kid. And I work, as you mentioned, I work 2 jobs for the most part. Except for this year with the virus, one of the jobs, the restaurant where I worked, was kind of put on hiatus until it's safer to serve our customers. But so I have an office job from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and then the restaurant job I've had it for over 20 years. I started my first year of university on weekends and evenings. And that's seasonal. So it's during the summertime and 5 weeks out of the winter for Christmas period. So I've been doing that ever since, because it's just so much fun. We always serve clients while they're on vacation or during holidays. So everyone's in a great mood and it's a great, happy family, my colleagues and I. So even though I don't do it for the pay necessarily, because I basically have my wages garnished from that, I just do it because I enjoy it, and I keep my tips too. but other than that, it's just a great atmosphere to be at, and it keeps me grounded.
That sounds like a great place to work. You're very fortunate.
Yes, and that's why I've never given it up.
I've known you for several years, and I often wondered why you kept that second job. And I mean, as well as we've known each other, or for as long as we've known each other, I never actually asked you, and I didn't realize that you enjoyed it as much as you do.
Yeah, and like every job, sometimes I'm like, I'd rather be home or doing something else than being here. Yeah. But for the most part, I mean, they've granted me so many opportunities where it's a restaurant that has dinner theater shows, and we hold events and weddings and all that stuff. So I've done some event planning, event management, some supervising. So it's given me a chance to expand my experiences and all that stuff. So it's a great atmosphere to work to, because it's people that we've been together for years, and it's like a second family to us.
So, Angele, how did you get into baseball? When did you start, and how long have you been playing?
I first started playing baseball as a kid. My parents were always very supportive about sports. As 6 years old, with t-ball, and then did t-ball for a year. Then it turned into baseball, and then it turned into orthodox softball, and then from orthodox, then it was fast pitch softball, and then represented New Brunswick as a teenager.
Right. And then when you got to the provincials, what happened after that?
After playing on the provincial team, I chose to play other sports, and I left ball behind me because I knew in one way that I had achieved the pinnacle that I thought I had in me, that I could achieve in that sport. So I took a 10-year hiatus and decided to explore play other sports that I might not have had the chance during ball season to play as much of. So I did that, and then I didn't step on a field for about 10 years until a friend of mine and my husband asked me to go play for their co-ed team.
Well, what a great way to get back to the sport.
How hard was it to transition from baseball to slow pitch?
But the hardest part was the batting. It was just finding out what pitch. Once you figured out what a good pitch was, you have your eye for that detail. Defensively, everything was the same. So it felt natural to me. it was just where I left off. But then once I got to bat, I like to swing and hit the ball. So I would swing at everything that was close to a strike.
And you also played fast pitch, did you?
Yes. Yeah.
And so what's the difference?
Well, with fast pitch, the pitch is most commonly used is, we call it the whip pitch. So the pitcher does a full rotation with her arm and releases it around the waist side. So the ball comes in straight and faster, or they have a variation of pitches as well. Like you can have a changeup that comes in slower, and knuckleball and anything like that. But it's just how the pitch comes in. So for fast pitch, it's usually a whip pitch, and then the strike zone is different. Whereas it's you look into the strike zone. Yeah, and plus at slow pitch, one of the rules that is different than fast pitch or hardball is that you can strike out by fouling out. There's no grace. There's no.
So every swing counts.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to adjust when you first got back into ball? Before you felt confident enough, like, hey, I've got this sort of figured out now.
For me, slow pitch, I kept connecting and I kept getting hits. However, I wasn't getting the better hits that I could have because I couldn't judge the ball. So that took me the longest time to adapt to, was just judging a pitch coming in. For softball, it's funny, when I went back to fast pitch after joining slow pitch, my first at bat, I struck out, which is something I had never done before. And the worst part is I swung the last two strikes. I swung at them and completely missed the ball. So because at slow pitch, my mindset was, okay, whenever I think I should swing, wait half a second later. That was my new reality. So at fast pitch, the first time I went at bat, I was waiting for that half second, which I didn't have that grace period anymore. And then, so that was very humbling for me. And then it's funny because the team that I had joined at the end of the year, I won most improved. Because I think they remembered me striking out at the first bat I had.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's great.
When you were playing on the provincial team for New Brunswick and you went to the Nationals and you won that, I mean, that had to be quite an amazing feeling. But how much training do you have to do in order to make it to the top like that? Like, were you training all the time, and what kind of training were you doing?
It's funny because the training varies from people. It wasn't like we didn't have any camps or anything like that, like some provinces would. We had, in 2017 was the first time that I had gone to Softball Canada, which is the elite for softball. All the best players in Canada all play there. And they have facilities year round. Some places have facilities year round that you can train, and you have a warehouse or pitching machines and for all seasons. So in New Brunswick, in Moncton, we didn't have that luxury. But when we came back from Softball Canada in St. Bruno, it lit a fire in us. After playing at that level, we're like, okay, we just wanted to keep improving ourselves and finding different ways of being able to train and work out, even though we didn't have the facilities year round that other places have. So for us, it was, we came back and it was like, okay, anything you can do to try to improve your technique, swinging techniques. And it could be like doing ab exercises to enforce your core, because a lot from your swing, a lot comes from your core. It's not just the arms that you're moving. It's also leg strength and transitioning your weight from one side to the other as you're moving your torso and moving your weight from the ball with the bat. Learning those tricks, those improved our techniques and improved our how we played. So it wasn't necessarily to have scrimmage and games and practices year round together. It was mostly like, okay, how do I improve myself as a player so that I can contribute more to our team? And so when we won nationals in 2019, we had it was just a group of players that known each other because we played with some players, we played against each other, and we know ourselves from the community, and then some players from outside as well that were asked to join the team. And then we built what we thought was a really strong team, but most importantly, a team that gelled well and had good chemistry together. We knew that win, lose, or draw, we were all going to give it our all, and we were going to have fun. Our draw was teams from Ontario, Quebec, Newfoundland, and Nova Scotia. And then in the end, it was, we had to beat the Quebec team. So, and at one point during the finals, it was great because we had a lot of fans because it was in our backyard. It was in New Brunswick, the event, and we had a lot of fans supporting us. And then at one point we were down 9-0, and it was a team that we had, yes. And sorry, not 9-0, but we were down by 9 runs. And it was a team that we had won against in the round robin. So we had already played them, and we meet them again in the finals, and we had beat them in the round robin. So we knew we could beat them, but our nerves before the game, it was just that sudden moment that it was like, oh wow, we've won all weekend. All we have to do is win this last game, and we're national champions. And I think that it all of a sudden that realization that everything lied on this one game was a lot for us. And we didn't play our best at the start of the game. And it's funny because at one point when we were down by 9 runs, between innings, we all collected ourselves, got together, and we talked to ourselves and said, listen, at this point, we're here together. We're never this is a moment we're sharing. Let's make the best of it. We're down by 9 runs, but no matter what, let's just have fun. And as soon as we had that talk about around all the teammates that we're just here to have that fun and enjoy this moment regardless, and we didn't have that pressure anymore of, oh my God, we could win the national championship at this point.
Right.
We were just we kind of dust that off of our shoulders, and that's when slowly we kept creeping up the runs, and we held them off. And then in the end, the last inning, we went up, and then they were home team, and all we needed to do was get 3 outs, and we did. and then we won the championship after coming back from 9 runs.
What a comeback.
That's an amazing story.
That would have been a great, great game to watch.
Yeah, you're right. It would have been.
And it's funny you should say that because a lot of our fans had left at that point. And then all of a sudden some reappeared because of the technology, right? People were texting, it's a close game now. Like, this is a good game now. And then, at one point during the game, we turned it around and most of the fans were all gone, had all left. And then all of a sudden we looked back and then, we were back at 3/4 capacity. So.
Wow.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Good for you guys.
I'm going to ask you something that you may not know the answer to, and that's fine if you don't, but I'm just curious. Do you know if New Brunswick has ever won that competition before?
I had looked it up, and the ladies had won one year. It was, I believe it was in the 90s. I forget the exact year now, but yeah, the ladies had won the national it was 30 years.
Wow.
What an accomplishment.
Simply amazing. I'm glad you're able to share that with us. Even I didn't know about all this. So
that's great. Do you still keep in touch with your teammates?
After a moment like that, you stay friends with everyone, and whenever you see each other, you're going to stop in and talk, and so we're all good friends. So many local tournaments and outside tournaments, a lot of times we'll contact each other and be like, hey, you want to play?
That's great. Yeah, it's an amazing connection that you have with these ladies.
Let's move on to something else because I know you enjoy softball, baseball, slow pitch, orthodox. I mean, as much as you can get in. But I also know that you go to the gym and you do some kickboxing to stay in shape. And I'm just wondering, how often do you do the kickboxing to stay in shape? And do you find it really helps your cardio any? Or what do you enjoy about kickboxing?
Yeah, like for kickboxing on a regular basis, I'll do it 2 to 3 times a week at least. But at some points, though, I have gone and gotten carried away and did it every day of the week for a certain period of time, just because it's something that it's my kind of my therapy. Well, any physical activity basically is good therapy for me. But kickboxing is just fun activity for me. I enjoyed it nonstop without a break, but I don't realize time's going so fast. So the workout's done quickly. At no point in that kickboxing do I go, oh, I got another 20 minutes to get through this. But so for me, it's fun and I love doing it. But when I was doing it too often, like every day, then I had to stop because I realized I was creating an injury on myself.
And it's good to hear that you have so much fun with it, because a lot of people seem to think that cardio has to be a chore. And it's nice when you can find an activity that is fun and it gives you a good workout and leaves you feeling good at the end.
What motivates me to run on a treadmill is when I love watching sports on TV as well. And for hockey, that's my trade-in. Like, I'm like, okay, if I want to watch this game, I have to run for the period.
Who's your hockey team?
For me, I'm a lifelong and diehard fan of the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Hey, don't feel too bad. I have a lifetime of a history of championships on my team, so I console myself with those
Right.
that history and that legacy there that they've left.
Don't you love that we can have some banter about favorite teams and it's all in good fun, right?
Oh yes, yeah, and that's the thing. It's so funny because for some people, if you see someone wearing a certain logo and you're like, oh, okay, bad first impression already.
Yeah. It's true,
Right.
huh?
But John, now full disclosure, because John and I have known each other for years, and be honest, what was your experience the first time you walked into the Montreal Canadiens arena? I was there with you.
Well, I thought it was amazing. It was the greatest show I had ever seen. It was fantastic.
And did you not catch yourself cheering for them too, even though they're not your team?
Oh, yeah. Well, they're not my team, but as you may or may not know, I'm not sure if you know this or not, I was a massive Vincent Damphousse fan.
Yes.
For many years, and he got traded to the Montreal Canadiens, and I just love the guy to death. So I got a Montreal Canadiens jersey because of Vincent Damphousse. It said Damphousse on the back of it. It was given to me actually by Daryl and his family. They gave that to me one year. I still have the jersey.
That's
Oh,
cool.
wow.
So
That's
yeah,
really
I mean,
cool.
so I was a big Damphousse fan, and even though I'm not a Montreal fan, diehard, I still like some of their players. I've been a big hockey fan for a long time, so it doesn't really matter the team as much as I like certain players. So yeah, I'm a Toronto fan, but show me a good hockey game and it doesn't really matter.
I don't think you can go into a hockey arena and not cheer for the game, right? You have to cheer for the game.
I know that you go to the gym. We were talking about it a few weeks ago, and you were telling me how you were going to the gym and stuff. Do you have a favorite routine when you go to the gym, or maybe a favorite exercise, or perhaps you like to train a certain body part? And part B of that would be, do you like to train with anyone else, or are you better solo, or would you go with groups? Maybe you could dive into some of that for us.
For me, my favorite routine, I would have to say it's the workout of the day, like at the time. What I do is I do what I feel is right for me, and I try to keep my workouts as fun and as entertaining for myself as I can. And when I have fun, I know that I enjoy it and it's pleasurable and I want to keep doing it. So usually I try to alternate between weight training and cardio, but there's some things that I do like every day, and I'll do push-ups and I'll do crunches, squats, and bicep curls every day, but not to work out in exertion every day because I want to give my muscles a rest. But I'll do those just as a base, as a foundation every day, just to make sure that my keep my posture and my form in check. But every other day, I try to work different group muscles, and I find that by giving it a rest the next day, after working out my legs hard one day, then the next, and I enjoyed working a leg day, but then the next day I would not want to ask me to do lots of squats, and I'll be like, no. I hate squats right now. like move on. And lunges, I can't stand lunges right now. But then 2 days later, I rebuild that love for and that excitement for those muscles again. So to me, it's a variation. For the partner, yes, I do have a buddy system, and that has helped me keep going to the gym because my whole thing when I first started and wanted to enroll in the gym years ago, I had asked my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, to come with me, and he had mentioned that no, that wasn't his thing. That running in the gym wasn't. He's very active in sports, but running in the gym aren't anything that interests him. So he had suggested that I bring along a friend, and I told him that doing the buddy system would work. But I said at the same time, if my friend calls me or texts me and says, "Oh, you want to go to the gym?" I said it's easy for me to say, "Oh, I can't tonight. I'm busy," and then just decide to sit on the couch and watch TV all night. But I said, however, I can't do that with you here because you'll call me out on it. Like I can't say,
Exactly.
I wish I could go tonight, but I'm too busy. And then you catch me taking an hour long break doing nothing. Then you'll be like, okay, let's go kind of thing. But I said, it's easy for someone that doesn't see you to believe that and be okay. But then that was my only option if I wanted to. And a friend of mine at the same time, she wanted to go to the gym too. So we talked about it and we encouraged ourselves and we did the whole buddy system. To this day, we still do it. And it's a friend that I've had for 30 years now. So.
Wow. Very impressive.
Yeah. So I would not want to let her down. And once we get there, it's always the same conversation at the end of our workout too. We always say to the other one, "Oh man, I didn't feel like coming today. And if you wouldn't have texted me, I wouldn't have come out to the gym today. But I'm so happy I did." Like it's always, without sounding cliche, it's always the same conversation. And we're always like, I'm so happy I did. And I feel so much better because I did now.
And it's great to have someone to be accountable to.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't want to let her down.
Sure.
So we're starting to see a bit of a pattern here, Diane. I mean, we were interviewing Michelle Brenton here the other night, and she's talking about her training partner and how important her training partner is to her and how much it meant to her and how they make each other, try harder or help each other out, maybe when someone's not having such a great day. And Angele here is telling us the exact same thing with her training partner. So it's a great relationship, I'm sure.
I think it is. It's really, really helpful to have someone go with you. And even though you're doing different workouts, different things, just to have someone to hold you accountable and say, yeah, I'll meet you there. For me, it's very important. And I miss that. And I hope we're going to get back to that soon.
Well, I hope so too. And I'm sure Angele and all of us want that to happen as soon as possible.
What I need now is a running buddy because when I do my running on my own, but what I do, even though I follow a program, I will skip the hills training. And so if it calls for a certain hill training, I'll be like, I'll do that distance, but on flat areas. And I always learned to train smarter, not harder. So to me, hills were harder. But what I found was that it's also smarter to train the hills because we just came back from a trip. A small group of friends and I had gone to Newfoundland and decided we wanted to hike a mountain and do a few other activities. And climbing that mountain, I realized that had I done my hill training, it would have been a lot easier in certain periods.
I'm a huge proponent of doing the hill training. I try and get on the hills as much as my body will allow me to do it. So
John loves the hills.
But rest assured now, I have started to do it.
Oh, I have no doubt that you're not going to let yourself slide again. You're going to tell yourself, yeah, right, this is not happening again. No way.
And you are going to attack those. You're going to go out there, you're going to attack those hills.
Oh, I will, because climbing that mountain, my calves were screaming at me.
Well, I'm just going to say, Angele, you ran a half marathon. Tell us about that.
Well, the first half marathon I ran it was funny because when I started running, it was just for fun. It was a short distance, and it was just to keep myself occupied and active. And I never had thought that I would run a half marathon because of the training preparation you need. With my schedules with the 2 jobs, especially one being seasonal, as soon as I started training for a half marathon, I would have to stop because I was working from 8 in the morning till midnight at night. Mm-hmm. So my only break was lunchtime, and that's when I started going to the gym, because I realized that working those long hours, I was low in energy, I was getting tired. It was easy when I was in my 20s, but after like getting into my 30s, I started struggling because I didn't have enough rest. So I decided, well, one thing that I could try before I quit a job or before I let go of certain shifts, I decided I'm going to try to, I had learned that the more you work out, the more energy you get. Like, even though you exert energy, you get it back. During lunch hour, that's when I would go and do my workouts. So it was during those lunch hours that I thought, okay, well, I'll try to incorporate workouts during my day to see if it's going to give me more energy and see if I can sustain this lifestyle. And when I did, it actually worked wonders for me, and it built up my energy and my alertness and awareness. That helped out a lot for me, going to doing my workouts at the gym for that hour. One day, my sister, who lives in Ottawa, called me, and she had enrolled into the running room and did the clinic for Learn to Run. And then she loved it. And then as soon as that one was over, she joined the clinic for the 5K clinic. Mm-hmm. And then she was all proud of herself, and I was proud of her too. So I said, great. I said, how about, and this was back in February. Back in February, she had mentioned that. So she asked, after that, I had asked, in February, when she told me she was enrolling in the 5K clinic, I told her, well, that's great. I was like, how about we give ourselves a goal? And in October, in Moncton, we have this Legs for Literacy run, and we'll give ourselves the goal of running it a 10K. And she told me, she told me, are you foolish? My goal is 5K. 10K is way too far for me. And I was like, yeah, but it's in October. And I told her, I said, well, the registration, they don't even take registration until, usually it's in the summertime. So I was like, we'll see how you feel after your 5K. And if you want to build on that, and by October, if you're ready to run the 10K, and it doesn't have to be a fast run, it's just you complete the 10K. And so she said she would think about it and she'd see. Well, the month later, in March, she calls me to say, oh, by the way, I registered us for a half marathon in September.
Oh, my goodness.
So I was like, wait a minute. So I was like, wait a minute. Like, you were pushing back on me wanting to run a 10K, on me wanting us to run a 10K in October, but now we're running a half marathon, which is more than double the length, a month earlier. We're going to be ready for that? And I didn't have a say in it because it was in Ottawa and it was the Army run. So it was important for us to do it together because that was our way of paying tribute and honoring our grandfather, who was a veteran of the World War II.
A fantastic idea. Great idea.
And we've done it every single year since then too. And the night before, they do the pasta dinner and they have guest speakers, and that is that is even more rewarding, I think, than as much as I love finishing a race and getting that medal at the end. I think that the whole atmosphere at the dinner and having the guest speakers share their experiences adds value to the run the next day. And the run the next day, we would see soldiers in all their full gear, uniforms, and their heavy backpacks walking the half marathon.
That's amazing.
The only year we didn't do it was this year because of the whole COVID situation. Yes. And traveling and all that stuff.
Diane and I both know that you have a couple of puppies, a couple of dogs.
Yes, mm-hmm. We heard one a while ago.
Yeah, I know that you take them for walks because you've told me that before. How do your dogs, how do they keep you grounded in general? Are you able to run with them, or do you just walk with them? Are they like your quiet time? You know, is it like exciting, or is it motivating to take them out for walks or runs? Like, tell us about some of that.
I had always wanted a dog, and my husband was more of the apprehensive type. And he would say, oh yeah, one day, one day, one day. So finally I told him, like, I was like, all right, that's it. If you're not coming running with me, I need a partner. So I'll get a dog.
That's good. That's good.
That's a great argument.
So then he had no interest, but he said, fine, we'll get a dog. And his preference was an English bulldog. But I told him, no, they're not as mobile as other dogs. So I was like, I don't think that was a good idea. I want a running partner. So I went to the local SPCA and I found who I thought was going to be my perfect running buddy. We adopted her, and she was full of energy, which was what I wanted. Yeah, she did not work out to be a good running partner. She walks great. She's a very sweet dog. She walks great, but as soon as I started jogging, she took that as, oh, okay, we're running. So she would run fast and kept pulling, but when she walked she wouldn't pull. But when I would start running, then she just wanted to go faster and faster and faster.
What kind of a dog is she?
She's an American Staffordshire, which is with the family of the pit bulls.
Mm-hmm.
And she is just fully active, just wants to go and play and run all the time. For me, I noticed that, you know what, it's when I'm active and I'm exerting energy that it keeps me balanced and keeps me calm. So, and just like my dogs, so they taught me stuff about myself as well. And plus, when I would run with them, I noticed how beneficial it was for their health, and I know that. And then, but I wasn't always putting the time to do it for myself. But with them, I had no excuses. I always wanted to make sure they were active so that they could live the best life they could. Motivated me to be healthier with them, to go along their path and keep up with them. So
you're motivated to move because your dogs have to move, right?
That's one of the big reasons. The other one is to keep, like I said, to keep me balanced and to keep me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, you had told me before that your dogs kept you balanced when you were walking them. I remember you saying that to me a few years ago.
And with the whole COVID thing, the funny thing is after a while, like, walking the dogs, it's great certain times, but sometimes it just gets tedious. It feels like tedious work, and it just feels like a chore. But when the whole quarantine happened, walking my dogs was no longer considered a chore. It was my highlight of the day.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you couldn't do a lot of other things.
No, and I was so looking forward to it. As before, like, I would come home from work and I was just like, sometimes I was tired. Well, went to work, then the gym, then come home. And then I was thinking, oh, now I got to put on my sneakers and walk the dogs too now. And the thing was, I was less patient with them because sometimes they would want to stop and smell everything. And I was just like, all right, come on, I got to get home again. Like, I got all these things to do. When I was quarantined, it was like, that's when I started appreciating the time that I could be out with them, and that if they wanted to take 2 minutes to smell a flower, I was okay with that. I was just enjoying the 2 minutes and watching them enjoy that smelling that flower.
That's really good. I know that you and your husband, Mike, who I know really well as well, are big animal lovers, and you guys are constantly posting stuff about saving this animal or rescuing this animal or finding a home for said animal. And I just think it's really good that you guys do that. So thank you for doing that.
That's really cool.
That's our pleasure. Like, that's our date nights, is basically driving one animal from one shelter to a foster family, or from one shelter to an adopted family, like whether it's from Moncton to Truro or Fredericton to PEI. And those are our date nights. We enjoy that. And then if no one volunteered their time, they might not find a home.
Now, I know that you have a really good support system. You talked too about when you were young, how your parents were, very supportive of everything that you tried and encouraged you to try a lot of things. What do you think it would be like today if you didn't have that support system?
Definitely would be different, because the whole reason why I've been so active my whole life was seeing my parents led by example. They knew how beneficial physical activity was, whether it's just for our personal health or for social interactions also. Me and my sisters, I grew up with two sisters, and all three of us were always into sports. And education was a big part too. The bulk of our time was always spent outside. playing games and running and bicycling. And that was a thing. My paternal grandparents lived a mile away from our house when I was growing up. So on a regular basis, the whole family would walk together and to go to my grandparents or jog or cycle or bicycle there. And for us, it was spending quality time with the family, being active.
That's great that they gave you the opportunity to do these things and that you enjoyed it. And I'm sure your parents enjoyed it as well.
They had great memories, and they like to reminisce about certain plays and certain games we did. And when we were kids, we would see, like, we'd go watch my father play hockey, but we also saw all his awards and his medals from track and field and other sports too. And my mother had her trophies and her medals as well for volleyball. So we would always play, and we'd always want to follow in their footsteps and think, oh, I want one like that too. So
it sounds like they were great role models for you.
Oh yeah, they were. We still are.
And still are. So Angele, I always ask this question at the end of every podcast, so you may be familiar with it. What advice would you today give to 18-year-old Angele?
Don't be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid to succeed, because that was always my problem when I was a kid. I realized that growing up was that I was always trying to stay under the radar, just trying to be mediocre all the time within the sports or within some of the things. I never wanted to stand out. I wasn't comfortable being in a spotlight or something like that. So but at the same time, I did not want to fail or let down my team. So my advice to that person would be to just take on every challenge that's presented in front of you and do the best you can. And don't turn out any opportunities because of a fear of failure or fear of being put in the spotlight.
Just go for it.
That's great advice.
Because last year, what had happened was I had injured my shoulder. I had an old injury on my shoulder, and I had the worst softball season that I've ever had playing. Like, I wasn't playing, I could barely throw a ball, and I wasn't playing to the capacity that I know I could, that I should be able to. And so I almost wanted to walk away, but I had the best tournament season of my year by winning the nationals and winning the Tobic tournament, which we had gone for 10 years. And at that tournament, there's teams from the United States, teams from everywhere, from Nova Scotia, from New Brunswick. That year, we won the national championship. We won that tournament, and we won basically every tournament we went into. So it was the best tournament year. But it was my worst performance at league season. But had I discouraged myself and been like, all right, this is not going the way I want to, and just take a break and walk away from it, I would not have experienced those peaks at the same time.
Well, that's a great answer.
It's a super answer.
I agree totally.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Angele, is there anything else that you wanted to say for this evening? Is there anything else you wanted to touch on or wanted to get into? Or
okay, I know we talked a lot about ball. Just to add a bit, because this year with COVID, we didn't know if there was going to be a ball season or not. And with my injury at first, I didn't know if I could actually physically play or not with the shoulder injury. But what we had done was, I was part of the executive committee for the ladies slow pitch league in Moncton.
Oh, wow.
I had prepared myself that I'm probably not going to spend a single day at the ball field this summer. I ended up spending 5 days out of the week at the field to prepare, to make sure that to set up the fields, to make sure everything was in line with what we said it would be in our operational plan, so that the league could go forward with a safer environment.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something that we should have thought to ask you about this season. Because I'm sure in May of this year, we probably didn't think we would be playing any team sports this summer at all.
No, and that's the thing. Like, usually the season would start in May and finish in September or sometimes October. Mm-hmm. But this year in May, we never got the green light. We were working on it just to see if there was a chance, and
just in case.
Yeah, just in case, and say, well, you know what, if we're fortunate and enough and we can do this safely, then we'll be prepared to offer that to the participants, because that community, that Slowfish community, is a really tight knit community. We're really close. If one of them gets injured or one of them gets ill, like we've done many of GoFundMe to help out people that have, and it's not necessarily sports related, but like someone had gotten a work accident and the whole community got together and we were behind that person and helped as much as we could.
Wow,
because it all affected us personally to know that that person was injured, and that person didn't even know if they were ever going to be able to walk again, and a year later is playing ball again. So
wow, that's wonderful.
So it's a group that rallies, and so we're a tight knit community. So I just felt bad that if a year that you're going through such a hard time, you want that connection, you're missing out on that connection and all that stuff. So if there's a way we can keep that connection but do it safely, and that's what we were trying to do. And some of the rules we implemented seemed strict at the time,
but well worth it.
Yes. And that's what we told the players, like, if we want to play, this is what we have to do.
So what was it like the first game you went out? What did it feel like?
It was a mixture of emotion. We're still not shaking hands with the other team. So some teams have been creative. We do air high fives, and we're more vocal about good game and letting them know that they played well and all that stuff, but no handshaking. So there were, and another thing that the players found it difficult at the start was there was no chewing seeds and spitting seeds.
Oh yeah,
players love the sunflower seeds. yeah. That's the one thing you always find at every ball field is sunflower seeds, and it was like, nope, not this year. We can't chew sunflower seeds, can't chew tobacco, and can't chew gum.
But I'll bet everybody was just so happy to be out on the field and playing a game that they were willing to embrace these changes.
Yes, and when we got the okay from the city, it was late June, and by the start of July, first week of July, that's when the season started. Mm-hmm. So our executive committee, we worked together. The ladies and the men's and co-eds committee all banded together and worked collaboratively and put our efforts all together to offer the best season we could, in spite of the circumstances. So we tried to offer, but it was 2 weeks that it was in preparation from the time that we offered the operational plan and to the city. So before that, we worked on writing it, and then once we offered it, 2 weeks later, the season was in motion.
Well done to you and your committee for making this happen.
It was fun. It was a great experience.
And I'm glad you interjected with that, Angele. And Diane's right. We should have asked you that, and I kind of can't believe that we didn't. So that's that's our bad.
You had no way of knowing that I was part of the committee. I never mentioned that to.
No, but we should have asked you about how the virus affected your baseball this year.
The season, yeah, we should have. I can't believe we missed something that obvious, right?
Well, Angele, thank you very much for being our guest. That was wonderful, and some great stories and some great ways to keep motivated. Thanks a lot for being our guest.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for this conversation. I'm really happy that I could speak with you two tonight, and it was fun.
So in the interest of time, I think we're going to leave it there for tonight. So for our very special guest, Angele Bastarache, and my co-host Diane Treitz, I'm John Lagroff, and thank you for listening, and see you next time on Motivate to Move. Thanks a lot. Have a great night. Bye.
Bye for now.